First of all, there were a lot of debates about the quite hardline politics, local, domestic politics. And I think that this presidency helped to understand that leadership in the global world is less hardline politics and more flexibility. Even the amendments to your media law are not so good as you wish, but the Hungarian government was forced to make amendments under the pressure from the other member states and European Parliament. The media problem is common for the EU member states, and the problem is just because media failed to self-regulate, and then it gave a chance for the hardline politicians to come with harsh solutions. So this problem is still developing and shall be solved in the future. Therefore, I would like to focus in my concluding remarks on continuity of the process of the presidency, of the European Union presidency. So the Hungarian government stated few priorities, and I just would like to mention priorities of the Hungarian presidency, because in the 6 months you cannot do a lot. You just have to take a lead from the previous presidents and then to give some unfinished work to the forthcoming presidency. So my concluding remark is about that. So the first priority of the Hungarian presidency was growth and employment for preserving European social model. Achievements, economic governance package. Though it's of course not finished, but it was very, how to say, difficult problem, a lot of controversy about Greece problems, problems in Ireland, Portugal, and so on. So it was difficult to manage, and I think that this was, it could be as achievement, and some of the experts mentioned that as achievement. Setback, it was that sovereign debt resolution framework still is not ready. So it means that Hungary has, as I said, we all former new member states have an experience in dealing with reforms. And it's a little bit confusing for me why Hungary failed to move faster with such a huge experience. It seems to me that the reason was what you mentioned, that a lot of new people came just before the presidency, and that they maybe were not familiar with the processes within the European Union to use the huge potential which Hungary has accumulated during the years of reforms. What remained to be done? Anyhow, it's a lot of problems with the economy in the European Union. How to solve compatibility of national growth models? You know, Germans argue that they have a good model. What to do to with Portugal growth model or Hungarian growth models? And then the issue, of course, of financial markets still not the end of the story, and the leveraging of financial markets is still going on. So, what is going to do Polish presidency? I just took from their website what they are going to do. And as you see, it's natural continuity in the European Union policy. Polish presidency is going to introduce a new model of economic growth, not concentrate solely on public finance and limiting budget deficits, draft the new EU budget as an investment tool, improve the regulation and supervision of financial markets, and draft the principles of crisis management, which actually Hungary could do also, because crisis management, it seems to me, is obvious, a lot of experience. Then the other priority of Hungarian presidency was stronger Europe and food, energy, and water strategies. Achievements, energy strategy, it was adopted, but of course, due to events in Japan and other events, future, well, let's say, decision turnaround in German energy policy, the question still remains: future sources of energy, scaling down nuclear power stations, and remain to be done, speaking in one voice externally, especially in energy issues. Somehow Hungary couldn't do it, but maybe it's was too short time. Of course, I just would like to mention starting of reform of common agriculture policy. It was, of course, a big input of Hungarian presidency. Polish presidency is going to, it's also from their, website, create a basis for an external energy policy of the European Union. So it means that it's not hangover after the Hungarian presidency. It's just Hungarian presidency can assist the Polish presidency to move forward and for the benefit of the whole European Union. One more priority was citizens-friendly union. So citizens-friendly union is human rights and immigration issues were high on agenda due to Arab Spring and due to Schengen problems and so on. So what are the achievements? I do not want to talk about Roma strategy because I'm not an expert and I know that for many years it's always a lot of issues to deal and to discuss. I think that maybe that Hungarian presidency achieved some step forward, or let's say made some step forward in this direction. But I would like to point out, which was not pointed out, that human rights institutional arrangements were set up during the Hungarian presidency at the European Union level. So we now have a person who is responsible for human rights within the Madame Ashton department. And also a single market act was adopted for small business, which is very important for Hungary itself and for the whole European Union. What remains to be done is enforcement of human rights, and it's related with internal and external problems. Though, as you probably remember, the issue of Romans situation, it became high on political agenda when it occurred in some way. What remained to be done? Enforcement of human rights, internally and externally. Because we still have some problems with the human rights within the European Union, and also there are a lot of issues around the world which we have to help. And the other issue, we cannot deal, like with Roma strategy, we cannot deal with immigration from outside if we do not help those countries around the European Union to make their life easier. So it's necessary to mix immigration and development aid policies. Unfortunately, maybe Hungarian presidency doesn't have enough time to do it. And I think that it's a certain type of failure. So this is Arab Spring. Hungarian presidency was well placed to manage this issue. We all came from this, post-Soviet society. We know what does it mean revolution. We know how to manage it, and that was, for me, it was also obvious that the failure is just because Hungarian people were not experienced enough to deal with European institutions. They are too shy to take a lead. It took them some time to learn what to do, and then they had experience, but they didn't manage to use it. And I was surprised that the Italians came with suggestions about the Marshall Plan, so we have just 20 years behind us experience of our revolutions. So it seems to me that several experts mentioned that this is a problem that usually we do not have internally continuity, and some people are changing very rapidly due to local political events, but in the long run it's not good for the country. So what is going to do Polish presidency? Support the development of electronic services, special focus on SMEs access to capital is very important, and also proceed with the implementation of Europe 2020 strategy, which actually not about human rights, but it's about fight with poverty and all other issues which are related to human dignity and in certain way related to the human rights. Then the one more priority was enlargement and neighborhood policy. Western Balkans. Achievement was mentioned, of course, is accession of Croatia, and it once again shows that Hungary had potential to do more, just because I understand that Hungary had experience of accession, so could help Croatia to deal with everything efficiently. A setback is general neighborhood policy. It was postponed, and it seems to me that with neighborhood policy, European Union has problems just because it's the potential of the new member states are not used. We have border with eastern part of the Europe, and also we know how to manage those revolutions, transitions, and everything. So it's somehow in Brussels it's not reflected. I myself worked for 5 years in Brussels. I know that you have a brilliant members of the European Parliament, but it's only few of them, and it's somehow still some internal consolidation shall occur, or something will happen in order to allow to use this potential, or institutional reform. So what remained to be done in order to allow Hungary and Poland and other countries which are more smaller countries, maybe not influential from the first side, just to build institutions, to reform institutions and create a legal basis for market economy, to help to create a legal basis for market economy in neighborhood. In Ukraine, I think in Egypt and in Morocco, the main problem is, of course, legislation. They do not have enough legal constitutional rights and legal rights to manage their life in, let's say, modern way. Polish presidency is going to expand the area of European values and regulations, so they are perfectly right. It's necessary to just help countries around the European Union to improve their legal system in order to allow people to exploit their creativity and their energy, and support a democratic transformation and the creation of modern state structures. That's a key point, and I think it's very good. So this is short remarks about the outcome of Hungarian presidency, and I said, and as I said, my view is that, in my view, that the Hungarian government learned that they have to be flexible in order to accommodate huge, a lot of different interests, let's say opinions and so on. So this definitely will be a huge benefit for the Hungary itself. And by then, I just want to say that the Hungarian government has quite strong opposition, as I understand now, within media community. It's also very beneficial for country, because it's the worst scenario is when press supports government 100%, then country stuck in the mud.